So that was Heikkinen spot around the outside. He's on the right-hand side of the screen. Hearth in the middle. You can see the cars ready to begin the final feature race of the day. And we go green from Daytona for the penultimate round of the season. And Hearth is swamped by Heikkinen and De Jong. Oh, and they're barging their way past into the final corner. There was a domino effect. A car on its roof. That's the positive sim racing car of Taskinen.
I'm not sure what Taskin was thinking there. There wasn't really a lane open. We've had clean starts pretty much all day, and that trend ends here in the feature as Mitchell De Jong will lead the opening lap here. Sammy Matty Trogan, though, what a start from him, Johnny. He's up 3 spots from 5th all the way up to 2nd, and that is not what Mitchell De Jong would have wanted to see. He was hoping to see Sammy Matty Trogan stay buried in the mid-pack or maybe even cycle down further. But for Sammy Matty Trogan, if he's able to come home 2nd, that's great damage control today in terms of the points, even if Mitchell wins. Mitchell takes to the shortcut, by the way, and it's going to be Sammy Matty Trogan who takes the normal lap. I think he'll still hold on to 2nd, so looks like Mitchell the only one to go to the Joker.
And 3rd in this train is Joni Heikkinen. He just took to the Joker after his abysmal start as we ride on board with Garrett Lowe in that CBDMD Lone Bro Motorsports car, of course, in partnership with Steve Arpin in the real world. Garrett Lowe got to visit the race factory just a couple of weeks ago. Brilliant for one of the youngest Rallycross feature race winners, don't forget, at Iowa in 2018. Now let's see if he opts for the Joker. No, he doesn't, but the car ahead of Johan Hearth does.
Yeah, and Johan's going to cycle in towards that 3rd position. Going to be trying to chase down Sammy Matty Trogan. Right now it's Quanda Sim Sports, Set Esports, Apex Racing Team, Set Esports, and then Lowe and Bro Motorsports, who currently run in your top 5. Bobby Zielinski's trying to chase down Garrett Lowe, get himself into that top 5, get another Quanda car representing in that top group, top half of the grid as they work down through this fast Estes section. Now, this entire pack of cars is pretty tightly packed together still, Johnny. It's about 4 or 5 car lengths between each one, but we've not seen a big breakaway with only 1 or 2 cars kind of getting away from the rest of the group like we've seen at a lot of the other races this year.
Yeah, most certainly. Good fact there. Now, in 2019, our last winners here were Mitchell De Jong. So Mitchell De Jong did win the inaugural race of the Rallycross World Championship in 2018 here. Then we revisited this layout at the end of 2018. He won Daytona long again. It looks like, Randy, he could win Daytona in 2019 again. No one's beaten him at the long version of Daytona.
Thing is, though, Sammy Matty Trogan is in the window, and he's not yet taken to a Joker lap. 2 seconds was the gap last lap. It's come down 2/10, 1.8, and we've seen that Joker delta fluctuate from 1.5 to 2 seconds, depending on who's taking it and depending on mistakes. So Sammy Matty Trogan is chasing down Mitchell De Jong. As I say that, he clips one of the tire bollards, and maybe that might drop him down a little bit down the running order. I see a little bit of damage on the nose of that Set Esports car as well, as Johan Hearth in the background apparently having some dramas.
Yeah, Hearth was collected there. It looked like by Joni Heikkinen heading into the hairpin. Now, Tommy Hallman's been spun around. Tommy Hallman's in 10th, so issues for the Finn in one of the 3 set cars in this heat. Look at the smoke coming from the rear end there of Joni Heikkinen's Subaru. That was bizarre to see.
Yeah, he's definitely committed. You can't say he's not. That mistake, by the way, cost Sammy Matty Trogan 0.7 of a second. He's back down to 2.5 seconds as you're starting to see the breakaway here between your top 2 and this sort of second pack and running order of cars. Johan Hearth and Joni Heikkinen stack up on each other at the hairpin at the top of the lap. Garrett Lowe as well. He leads a big train of cars of Garrett Lowe, Bobby Zielinski, and Otto Taskinen, who's upside down early in this race. He settled just behind this group, but he's taken to the Joker already, and I don't think any of the cars in front of him have.
Yeah, you can identify that at the top of the screen, of course, if you're new to the series. Now, can I correct myself before, Randy? Mitchell De Jong has not only cleanse swept Daytona long, he's never lost a race at Daytona in terms of feature races. He's only ever won at Daytona, as we see some squabbling down the back end of the order. So it looks like, yet again, he'll remain undefeated from this racetrack.
It's the way it's looking at the moment. If things keep going like this, it's all on Sammy Matty Trogan, though, and what he can put together. Mitchell's doing great work out at the head of the field. opening that gap up. 2.8 was the last trip around the racetrack. Can Sammy Trogan bring it down this time? No, it opens up another tenth of a second in terms of Mitchell de Jong. I know that in the past we'd occasionally see that Joker being about 3 seconds, but we've not seen anyone close to that 3-second delta, especially with as cool the track temps are today. You can see how overcast it is. Sort of just a cool racetrack for these guys, giving tons of grips. I see someone has collected a bollard in the background. I think it may have been Otto Saskinen. Gave that a big wallop, who's managed to as well get around Garrett Lowe. So right now, Mitchell de Jong definitely seems keen on keeping his win cycle here at Daytona alive. 2 to go this time at the starter's gantry, and hopefully Trogan for keeping his hopes of winning this race alive. He brings the time down, but he doesn't. Trogan drops another tenth. That's how open to 3 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like too little too late for the Finn, but he can wrap up this championship next round at Atlanta. He has a very comfortable lead on Mitchell de Jong, and de Jong's going to need a miracle, basically meaning that Sammy Trogan will need to miss the feature and not qualify too well, not do so well in the heats for de Jong to win that championship. But at the moment, de Jong's done everything he can after missing 2 rounds earlier on in the 2019 season to extend this championship to 1 more race. You never know in the world of motorsports, as we watch Zelensky in a sandwich here with Taskinen behind. Now, Taskinen, Randy, didn't he begin this race on his roof as we begin the final lap?
Yeah, he did. That's what's so crazy about the fact that he currently finds himself running in P6 here on the final lap through this tight sector. Hit the midway point, coming up to the top end of the circuit. Everyone's being relatively nice with one another. A little bit of a mistake from Johan Hart ahead of Bobby Zelensky here. Got a little sideways, but Mitchell de Jong, he's going to head into the final corner, and he's going to win here at Daytona.
Undefeated at Daytona is de Jong, and he continues that undefeated streak into the penultimate round of the 2019 Thrustmaster iRacing Rallycross World Championship.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
American we have behind the scenes is Jim Beaver, of course. Now, Jim, welcome to Rallycross, to the broadcast for the first time. And you yourself, as a fun fact, you actually served as GRC's live announcer at Atlanta in 2013, but a very different layout today.
Yeah, it was actually the very first Rallycross race I ever called was at GRC Atlanta, and yeah, a little bit different today, but fun track, and man, that was an exciting race. And I remember, honestly, probably one of the best races I've ever seen was Mitchell DeYoung, and he was in a lights car at that time. And it's funny to come full circle today and have Mitchell DeYoung racing here with with iRacing here in the World Championship.
Yeah, and it's been an exciting World Championship for sure. Now, Mitchell could potentially wrap it up today, but he'll need a miracle. It could go to Sammy Trogan. It's for you yourself. You'd be hoping that your two drivers for the Jim Beaver Esports cars of Connor Parisi and Bobby Sant Jr. will do the same maybe in 2020.
Yeah, it's one of those with Jim Beaver Esports. We came in and, I'd had a program together with iRacing and the eNASCAR Peak Series, and we started looking at some other opportunities. Obviously, I've got, I've been involved in the rally community for a long time. I raced myself, involved with Dirtfish, and so, I started talking with Bobby, and they were talking about sponsorship, and I ended up ultimately acquiring the team. And, this year was kind of a growing year for us, and I mean, the drivers have done great. We're really trying to bolster our roster and get a lot of data collecting going on, so to help these guys with some setups and things. So, long term, we're definitely looking at 2020 in the championship, but here's hoping maybe we can pull out a podium here to cap off 2019.
Yeah, that's possible for sure. Both your drivers have made a feature race. For me, I want to ask how Dirtfish got involved in not only sponsorship of both you, but also your esports team, because Dirtfish is one of the most popular rallycross programs out there in the world.
Yeah, Dirtfish, I've been with them, I think, for about 6-7 years now, and I'm a helmeted driver in my trophy truck in the off-road stuff with Dirtfish, and they're involved with my radio program and my media company, and went to them and said, hey, we're going rallycross racing with this World Championship. You guys interested in getting on board on the cars? And it was immediately yes. And so we kind of mirrored the liveries to match what they're racing, and I guess I want to say ARX, which is now no longer, but it's definitely a program that Dirtfish is really excited about. And I think there's a lot of drivers, whether it be in sim racing and or traditional racing, there's a lot of crossover, and I think Dirtfish is hoping that they can connect the dots between real world and sim with with this partnership.
And for you, of course, after this race, the next World Championship for iRacing will be the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. For you, though, you have a team in that series and this, so you're going to be back for 2020. And what's the future going to be like for not only Jim Beaver Esports, but you've also purchased Reignition Esport too?
Yeah, we're really, it was one of those that came together right before I think it was about September when we purchased Reignition, and we kept everybody on board, and things have grown. I mean, our social following's gone crazy since the acquisition, and it's really, we're trying to put together some media programs and things like that a lot of people haven't seen in the esports community before. And I know we're approaching this exactly like we would a real world race program, in that we're putting out media, PR, things like that, that a lot of sim teams haven't done. We're approaching it just like a real race program. So I'm really excited about what 2020 brings.
Of course, anything to plug, of course, you have your own, well, you've got a whole website. You do so much, Jim, of course, in the media world. So you can be an inspiration to not only us, but any aspiring journalists out there.
Yeah, it's I've got a national radio show. We talk motorsports. I've got 2 podcasts in addition to that, as well as a third one coming along, and talk everything from racing to action sports and pop culture and video games. And I've got that. We've got a whole media company. I've got my own personal race programs where I race Polaris Razors and trophy trucks, and now we've got the esports program. So a lot going on. Been fortunate to have, I know you guys know Chris Leone very well. He works with iRacing and me, kind of splits his time between the two of us, and he's helped me connect the dots. But it's been a fun run. We've got our hands in, just about anything, but whether we're sim racing or real racing, we got something going on just about every weekend.
And can I ask you more about that, actually? Final thing, we've got a minute to go, but you have your own off-road race program, like you said. You race the Polaris Turbo UTV, and that's in Best in the Desert. Can you explain that to people who don't know much about that?
Yeah, so it's basically Baja. We race in the States, but it would be the same as like the Baja 1000. We race some long distance races like the Mint 400, Vegas to Reno, where you're racing anywhere. Vegas to Reno is 550 miles across the state of Nevada in the desert. And I know iRacing has brought some of the short course stuff and Lucas Oil, and we're similar to that, but it's just longer distance races, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Most certainly. Now, Jim, we'll leave you to it, but good luck to not only your team today, but of course, Bobby Sant Jr. and Connor Parisi. They can keep track of you there. We'll leave you to it for now, but thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So that was Jim Beaver, of course, who manages and owns Jim Beaver Esports. Now, Randy, qualifying's wrapped up. Our championship not wrapped up in qualifying with Mitchell de Jong snatching pole position, but we head over to the first heat, and he's got prime position here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's kind of a who's who for this opening heat race, isn't it? As you said, Mitchell on pole, Johan Hart starting in that middle of that first row as well. Kevin Carlisle, Tommy Hallman. This is going to be a big first heat, and this is going to be a great, I think, finale of this championship here, Johnny. This is going to be a fun track, I think, for these guys to navigate and get themselves around, but I'm definitely expecting some spills here today. Also, we just got done chatting with Mr. Jim Beaver, and both of those Dirtfish cars are in this opening heat.
Yeah, exactly. So keep an eye on them. They start a little bit down the order here, but at Atlanta, we've seen a lot go wrong and a lot go right for those both the front and the rear, respectively. But I can't believe Rallycross is coming to an end here in 2019. It's been such a good season. The championship could also be wrapped up in the heats. Very unlikely, though, if Mitchell de Jong can score some good points here. But for Johan Hart in second, it's critical that he achieves a good result. He hasn't had the best of seasons in 2019. So look out for the Frenchman. He could have had a better one. He's been one of the best qualifiers, if not the best in 2019 for sure. So let's see if his pace translates to the first heat.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that transfers over as well as we wait for these guys to get to the starting grid. I think we're waiting on one more car, and then we'll be letting them loose for the final time here in 2019.
Yep, Garrett Main's still yet to join. Now, Randy, that grid is actually gravel, not asphalt.
Yeah, and that's a unique thing. Every other round we've had, even the Atlanta round, the long circuit, had a completely asphalt starting grid. You're starting on gravel here. Going to be a different challenge for these guys as they bring the revs up. Going to turn one for the first time. Looks like Mitchell's going to do his best to hold on to that inside line. On the outside, bit of a push to that Apex Subaru on the outside, but everyone up and over the jump clear for the first time, Johnny.
Brilliant getaway from the Coanda Simsport driver. Hart is turned around. Goodness me. That's Johan Hart into the first sector. And I'll tell you what, he'll just file back into the middle of the racetrack. That could have ended quite dangerously for sure. He's not going to opt for the Joker. He goes straight to the donk slide for the first time. But here's the replay. Now, what's happened to Johan Hart here?
Really difficult to see. Honestly, I think he made a really rookie mistake here, and he definitely didn't hold on to the brake when he went there through the grass. He's actually on the throttle. I don't like that from Johan whatsoever. He kind of reblended into traffic and caused a little bit more drama than he needed to. So Mitchell de Jong, after jokering on that opening lap, he'll go through this bank dirt hairpin for the first time here on lap 2 of 5, and it's going to be Matt Adams, who's currently cycled into second, Garrett Main's third, and we talked about those Dirtfish cars starting in the back, Johnny. They right now are, they run, I believe it's P4 and P5, as Connor Parisi just took the shortcut and cycled in behind his teammate, Bobby Sant Jr.
Yeah, it's a very abrupt rejoin is the shortcut. We ride on board with Bobby Sant Jr. in the Jim Beaver Esports car. We just spoke to Jim Beaver pre-race. There's his teammate behind him as they head through this first sector at Atlanta. It's one of the shortest laps all season is Atlanta. And he heads through to the donk slide right behind Garrett Mains. This is this brilliant banked hairpin that Randy was talking about. How much of a thrilling sight was that as the three maneuver their way around there. Now, Mains doesn't have the best of runs through this final corner. Ironically, Randy, you talked about the lack of overtaking that can occur at Atlanta. That final corner could be the best overtaking spot.
It probably is. It's definitely, you can definitely slot a move up the inside, but it's really hard because it's sort of like running at Sebring, Johnny. If anyone's used to doing like regular road course racing, you sort of have what feels like this super wide front straightaway, and then you cut down onto that access road that shortcuts from the long circuit, and there's really only 2 lanes there. I don't think you can fit 3 cars side by side there. And then it's the same when you go down that front straightaway where you go up and over the jump. But you can see it as we watch the camera shot here. They turn down, and there's really only a room for a couple cars there. They're going to be seeing the white flag here on lap 5 of heat 1, and Mitchell de Jong is checked out 2 seconds over Matt Adams.
Now, I want to check if Matt Adams has taken the Joker. Yes. So Matt Adams is confirmed, could find his way into the feature. He has made the feature this season, Matt Adams, so nothing new for him. But there is the VRS Commander SimSport driver. He needs a miracle today to win the championship, and it probably won't happen, but nevertheless, he wants to end on a high, and Mitchell de Jong will come through the final couple of corners, take the win for Heat 1. We still have racing here between Matt Adams and Tommy Hallman in the said esports car for the second position. It was a drag race to the line between the two, but Hallman poked a nose up the inside, Randy, but it wasn't enough for him.
Yeah, he did just about everything he could there to try to get that transfer spot away. There did Mr. Hallman. It's not going to pan out, and because of that, it's going to be Matt Adams along with Heat winner Mitchell de Jong onto that feature. Heat 2's looking good, and I'd say the driver who wants to at least emulate his teammate's performance here is going to be that number 22, is Sammy Matty Trogan. He'd love to transfer, but starting on the pole here, he just needs to finish well here, Johnny.
Yep, it's only a matter of time until we crown Sammy Matty Trogan champion, but he'll begin this heat from P number 1. He had pole position here last time, so whether or not he can continue that strong pace, we'll wait and see, but he did qualify second behind de Jong this race. Now, don't forget, Tommy Hallman, who we just saw finish in 3rd, did podium off the final position last time in the feature race, so that could still occur for any of these drivers down the order. But we go green for the second heat of the day. And it is almost, it's 4 wide for sure heading into the final corner for the first time. And 1 driver into the wall. That was Garrett Lowe in the Fiesta. How about Yorgi Zadzon in the back of the pack being turned around? So Zadzon misses the jump even. And at the start here, it looks like it's Trogan from Taskinen from, oh, the timing screen's playing up here, Randy. But it looks like it could be, well, a couple of drivers take to the Joker, and that's Taskinen and Trogan.
Yes, Trogan's going to go to the shortcut. Taskinen, as you mentioned, as well as Joni Heikkinen. I mentioned the fact that you really can't go through those first couple of corners 3 wide, 4 wide. We saw him try it 4 wide. Couple cars got jumbled into the outside wall because of it. One of them was Garrett Lowe, who started in 3rd. He cycled down to 5th after the drama on that opening lap, and I'm curious if that Ford Fiesta might have damage on it from the way he scraped that car along the left side of the wall. We still watch the likes of Trogan, Taskinen, and Heikkinen as they work through that big hairpin, and let's see, does anyone take to the shortcut this time? Bobby Zielinski says no. Someone in the background did. It may have been
Vinalosa?
Vinalosa is who it was, yes.
Yep, so there's Daniel Mitrani there. So it's 2 set esports cars here in the top 4, 2 positive sim racing cars. Taskinen, Trogan, Heikkinen, they're all feature race winners this season. Can't believe we're going to say goodbye to one of them, who we're going to have to head to the consolation race. Heikkinen's pushing though. And at the moment, Randy, Heikkinen looks like the one out of these top 3 who's going to miss out. Can you believe it as well? 3 Finns in your top 3 spots.
Yeah, they're doing very well. The Finns have really come out in force in this championship. And, I mean, a huge amount of course, rally history in Finland. So not really that much of a surprise as they go through the tighter sector of the racetrack. Once again, you're going to start their penultimate lap up and over the jump. Really one of the, I think, more exciting kind of jump entries we have here, Johnny. The way it kind of turns in off the shortcut, really, really interesting because you really get flung out right up against that outside wall. It's almost like you're running at Monaco, but there's a big jump in the middle of the front straightaway.
And look out for Zelensky. I thought he was going to take to the Joker, but he continues to the donk slide here for the penultimate time in this heat. What a thrilling shot it is there. I mean, I love Atlanta. We need more rallycross circuits in iRacing for sure, and hopefully the participation grows too.
I definitely don't think there's that many people that would disagree with that. But white flag in this second heat race. Bobby Zielinski up and over the jump. We generally expect about an 8-second delta for that Joker, and he's 9 seconds off your leader, 8 seconds behind Otto Taskinen. So the fight's going to be on for the transfer spot. Bobby Zielinski to the shortcut. Where's Otto Taskinen going to be as he comes through? And Bobby's going to have a huge run. Can he get the outbraking done? They make contact.
Oh, contact between the two. That's going to allow Heikkinen to spot into the feature. No, Heikkinen spun around too. So who's into the feature? It turns out, well, Sami Matty Trogan's confirmed for sure. It's going to be Bobby Zielinski joining them in the Coenda Sim Sport car. Goodness me, that reminded me of the Stephen Bradbury speed skating finish, Randy, but all the way back in Salt Lake City, 2002.
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't... Bobby kind of came through up the inside, and I don't know. I feel he kind of just shoulder tasking it off the racetrack, and they had another shoulder again as they went through the shortcut there. I think that was a little bit naughty on both their parts, if I'm entirely honest. But regardless, going to be Trogan and Zielinski who cycle through to the main event. We're going to have to see everyone else get there through the LCQ. But Heat 3, final heat race of the season, coming up, Johnny.
And it's not the most stacked grid that we've seen. Josh Fox is in there, of course, too. Josh Fox, yet to win a feature race this season. He only has one career win to his name, the Williams Esports driver. Look out for Marcos Matamoros. He hasn't made a feature race this season either. But the rookie John Robertson is yet to win one too. Lights illuminate for the final heat of the season. And we go green from Atlanta yet again. Perez will hold the lead from the inside line, throws it into the final corner. The V-dub's turned around and it's caused a pile-up. It looks like Madigan's made it through for the time being in the V-dub. Behind him, Josh Fox in second, but carnage we didn't need.
Yeah, I mean, that looked like a classic NASCAR mistake if you're used to short track racing. Adrian Perez just tried to clear himself on Josh Fox and ended up getting it wrong, and that was a huge amount of cars around through that first corner. So that's going to mean your pole sitter, basically by his own virtue and his own mistake, is going to go all the way down the running order, and who's going to actually cycle into the race lead? Looks like it's likely to be the 12 of Josh Fox, and I mean, who else is even out there running? Matt Madigan's out there. He's, what, 6-7 seconds back. So huge attrition on the opening lap.
Just remember that Josh Fox took the Joker on the opening lap. Madigan didn't. So technically at the moment, Madigan still leads, but Fox has the pace here to cut past Madigan, depending if Matthew goes for the Joker this time around. Here's Madigan through the Joker. He's lost that lead to the Williams Esports driver. And the two are alongside each other in the final corner. Man, Madigan called it close to the barrier there.
Yeah, he definitely did. He didn't leave anything out there on the table, did he? Phil Diaz, another one who owes us a Joker. We'll get an idea of what the delta is here in just a couple of moments. Right now, I'm showing you about 9 seconds off your race leader, Josh Fox. Again, we've been seeing about 8 seconds. So he's about 8.5 off Matt Madigan. So that second transfer spot may not be gone just yet here, Johnny, because Phil is well within a transfer spot. We talked about him last week, coming into last week, having not yet made a feature all year. He got there, and he's currently in a spot that he could potentially do it directly out of the heat if he can reel in some time on that 39.
This won't be the best way to end the season for Matamoros. Sure, he envisioned himself in a few features. Robertson and Chepelevsky, sure, they're on a little bit of lack of practice too. They're not normally this far off the pace, but the two Apex Racing Team Subaru Winter Experience cars down the order. Now I'm looking at the top of the screen. Diaz hasn't taken to the Joker, identified by the red X, and then we switch over to the next three in the standings sometime soon. It's Robertson, Chepelevsky, Matamoros. None of them have taken to the Joker, so something to look out for here, Randy, is whether or not Madigan can keep that second position on the final lap.
Yeah, and with Adria Perez behind, I mean, Adria is only a second back. If he can find time, Adria is quite aggressive. Phil Diaz has lost a little bit of ground. He's the one who still owes us a shortcut here on the final lap. So as they work their way through, Matt Madigan's coming off the hairpin, and Phil Diaz is going into the Joker. He's not even going to be close, I don't think, as they work themselves onto the front straightaway. He'll close in. He'll get by one, but not by two, as Fox and Madigan will hold those top two spots.
So if that's where Diaz feeds out, I'm a bit concerned for Robertson and Chepelevsky here on the final lap. But Robertson actually is in prime position. Let me take that back. John Robertson, he took to the Joker this lap, excuse me. So that's the end of the heat. And it looks like it will be Fox and Madigan through for the final heat of the season. And there are the results confirmed on screen. Now, again, that final lap Joker didn't pay off too much, Randy. The Joker delta, like we said here, around 8 to 8.5 seconds.
Yep, you're absolutely right about that. We've seen that pretty consistently all day today through all three of the heats. And I mean, every heat we've had sort of a fight where someone was taking a late Joker, and it was coming down to that. But first LCQ of the day, Hallman and Diaz up front. A couple of other big names starting deep. John Robertson, Joni Heikkinen, I think are the ones that definitely stand out. But Hallman in the 87, I think, has to be the favorite to transfer here. Most
certainly. Tommy Hallman. Well, he's always got a bit lucky at Atlanta, hasn't he? He'll start on the inside, but there could always be carnage to ensue heading into that final corner. We go green for the final, or the first consolation race of the final round of the season. Here, Hallman and Diaz go through side by side into the final corner, and Diaz will snatch the lead from the Finn. Brilliant getaway from the NX Racing driver. How about Garrett Lowe in fourth? It looks like that's John. No, it looks like Heikkinen there in the Set Esports car into third. Who's going to take to the Joker on the opening lap? The top three all do together.
Someone else does as well. It's John Robertson. However, I think those are the Apex cars starting in the back. Both Carlisle and Robertson, I believe they jumped the start. Both of them moved, and Carlisle sends it into that sort of final corner, and he absolutely slams the wall with the left side of that Apex Racing Team Subaru. So that car is probably going to be destroyed. We're going to show a replay of it here. See him going through the Joker, rip those signs, and off onto the front straightaway, and just watch him here. Hard on the brakes. Going to get that car not nearly slowed up enough. It's almost like he grabbed the handbrake there, Johnny. I think he realized he'd made a drastic mistake and tried to sort of yeet his way into a fast line somehow, but coming off now through the Joker lap. I don't think anyone's coming off. Oh, but Bobby Sant Jr. all over Tommy Hallman and side by side through the shortcut.
He's going to barge his way past, isn't he? Hallman's had the worst of starts here at Atlanta, and we could be saying goodbye to him, incredibly, for the rest of the season. There's only a few laps to go right now, and the time is ticking down for Tommy Hallman. He's currently 9th in the championship. Heading into this round is the Finn. He's right behind Diaz, Heikkinen, Robertson. But only your top two advance to the feature. They'll sort out those final grid positions. Brilliant for Phil Diaz again, Randy. It just seems like, I don't think he's lacked pace this season like we said, but when the luck switched last round at Daytona, now it switches again for the final round at Atlanta. We finally get to see Phil in the feature.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And I mean, he's doing splendidly out here to be running away and, you know, leading for the likes of Joni Heikkinen, John Robertson, Tommy Hallman. Great to be seeing this out of Phil Diaz, someone who we need to keep an eye on. Garrett Lowe yet to take to the shortcut here as he works lap number 4, getting ready to come towards the final lap in a couple of moments' time. He is right on the cusp of being in the window to jump Joni Heikkinen here into this final. Phil Diaz, he's made a mistake though, and he's fighting out with Joni Heikkinen. They make contact as they work through the shortcut, and Heikkinen, he wants to lead, and Robertson's going to follow into a transfer spot as well. Is that going to help get Garrett Lowe in the window with those two checking themselves up?
Oh, and look at Robertson there. He was almost bump and run by the American of Diaz. He is! The Brits turned around. Is this going to give Tommy Hallman a transfer spot on the final lap? This is going to get ever so close here. And we believe Robertson may have a penalty. Don't forget, it could have been a jump start. Oh, we forgot about Garrett Lowe. Why do we always forget about Garrett Lowe on the Joker? These two don't need to scrap. Forget about that second transfer spot. It's going to the Fiesta of Garrett Lowe. Oh, man, what an end to that consolation race. Yet again, Randy, we forget about the young man.
I definitely did. And I'll say again, and I mentioned it at the start with the jump start, we saw Robertson at the end of that race just get all aggressive, Johnny. He just got cycled down to 7th, I believe, off of a 10-second penalty. John really got physical there with those guys, especially with Phil Diaz coming to the end of that race, and he would have known he had that 10-second penalty, and that's a bit of a joke in my opinion, if I'm honest, that he knows he can't transfer and he's potentially getting into other drivers out there. But regardless, last LCQ of the season, gridded up.
Certainly is. Fenalosa will hold the first position alongside Maines and Perez. We go green for the final consolation race of the season. And yet again, we go 4 wide here at the start. Who's going to take turn one? Perez yet again is almost on his
cars
roof.
around.
Oh, cars around already into the final corner. Chepelevsky on his roof.
Cheppy up and over, and that's not going to be the way he wants to end his year. Daniel Matrani, he cycles out, I believe, into the race lead. Logan Clampett second. Third will be Otto Taskinen, so two teammates will go through. Johan Hart, at one point, championship contender, Johnny, he is out of the final LCQ of the year.
Yep, Johan Hart out of the World Championship now. We won't see him until 2020. But for the moment, Fenalosa will lead ahead of Taskinen. The two positive sim racing cars won't have the best grid position for the feature, but they hold those two spots for the moment. I'm just trying to identify, Randy, if they're taken to the Joker.
I'm trying to figure that out right now as well. Just waiting for my timing to update. Yeah, a couple teams definitely have. Fenalosa and Taskin, two teammates. Yes, they have. Clampett, Connor Parisi. It appears they have not yet taken to the shortcut. And Logan's right where he wants to be. 8.6 back off the leader. He's within a second closer of Otto Taskinen, who's in second in the transfer spots. But I have a feeling these two teammates running first and second, they're going to do everything in their power that they can potentially do to transfer here. That's going to mean Fenalosa is going to try and check out, and Taskinen, he's likely going to have to scrap with some of these guys behind. Connor Parisi, I think, by the way, may have taken to the shortcut there, and indeed he did.
He did. The Jim Beaver Esports driver now in third. Could be the end of his season, unfortunately, for Connor Parisi as he heads through the donk slide. There are the two beautiful positive sim racing cars, but how about Clampett? He took to the Joker and he could knock off one of those PSR cars.
Yeah, he definitely could. So Clampett getting ready to go up and over the jump now. They're going to see 2 laps to go in this LCQ, but I think Logan's a little bit too far back as we look over the hood there and see it's about 10, 15 car lengths as they go through that tight S's section. And yeah, I don't think Logan's going to be anywhere near close enough unless they come to blows. That said, Fenalosa's kind of dropped off the pace here, Johnny, and now Taskin all over his teammate. They're going to go side by side through this long left-handed sweeper. Could the two teammates be checking each other up and maybe pushing some of these other guys into the window?
Well, we know Taskinen's the quicker of the two. And remember, he did win round 4 from Lucas Oil this year. Fenalosa doesn't mean he's not that dramatically slower compared to Taskinen, but there has to be one quicker than the other. So let's see if Taskinen's held up here, because I think he's got enough of a buffer, Randy, to hold this lead over Logan Clampett here, these two. So the more they battle, it would just be silly from the two teammates. So I'm sure they're discussing this behind the scenes and just, well, I'll tell you what, Taskinen just wants that grid position, doesn't he, for the feature?
He definitely does. In towards the final braking zone, really at the lap, and they're going to single file it out, which is smart. Little brush to the wall for your leader, but Daniel Matrani going to be up and over the jump, and he should win this LCQ, unless it's going to be Ferrari at Austria, and it's going to be Taskinen who takes the win there. Not sure if there were some team orders involved there, Johnny, but that was a little strange.
It didn't look deliberate, let me tell you that much. Fenalosa almost took himself out of the race as he crossed the line. Here are the results for the final consolation race of 2019. Fenalosa, take a breath of fresh air, mate. Goodness me, the Spaniard makes it through with his teammate of Taskinen. Goodbye to all those names below. Can't believe we're saying goodbye to Chepelevsky yet again. But Johan Hart, he was just fed up, Randy, after that early incident. Never seen someone leave a server that quickly.
Yeah, you're right, but I mean, I know it's frustrating, and it's definitely not the way he would have liked to end his year. But we move on to the finale, Johnny, and I have to say I'm really worried about what this starting grid is about to bring us. We mentioned the fact, of course, that the starting grid is on gravel, which is unique. But the other thing that's unique about this starting box, Johnny, is that it sort of has it has a little bit of elevation, and you kind of drop into the racetrack. So you go over a little bit of a rise. Watch closely, ladies and gentlemen, as we do the start of the race. You'll be able to see that as they kind of drop onto the racing circuit. But the other thing that's, of course, difficult, we've seen all day today, Johnny, is how difficult that kind of first sector is, getting through turn 1 and turn 2. Getting the cars stopped and guys being 3 and 4 wide. There's been drama there all day, basically since Heat 2. But that's going to be, I think, the deciding factor for this one.
And the championship can be decided right now in this heat. Sammy Matty Trogan, well, all he has to do is pretty much end the first lap, Randy, the way it goes. But I think we'll make it a little more dramatic than that right now. But he'll start from second alongside Mitchell de Jong at the beginning. And it's been a good season for Sammy Matty Trogan. But he only has one feature race win to his name. No other driver has won multiple feature races, apart from de Jong.
Yeah, I was about
Excuse
to say outside of Mitchell. So, I mean, Sammy's coming out with a championship, but it's definitely, I think, Mitchell. I have to be honest, missing 2 races, still being in it, coming into the final round, the only driver to win multiple rounds this year. I think Mitchell's been the standout driver this year, even though it looks like Sammy is a clear favorite as the checker flies on the warm-up. We got 10 cars getting ready to grid up for 10 laps here for the final time this season.
And your grid will include 2018 champion of Mitchell de Jong. He's the only driver who can mathematically win the championship apart from Trogan today. And he's the only driver this season with multiple feature race victories. This will be number 5 if he can get it done. He'll be alongside Sammy Matty Trogan, who won here in round number 1 and is our potential 2019 champion. Josh Fox will start on the outside of the opening row. Brilliant starting position for Matt Adams in 4th. He'll be alongside Zelensky and Madigan. How about Joni Heikkinen down the back end of the order along with the Finn of Otto Taskinen. Garrett Lowe gifting himself another feature race position in that Fiesta. That's going to be the quickest car to use. Whether or not Lowe is the quickest driver, he will prove over these next 10 laps. Now, the feature race is 10 laps as usual. 1 joker available to the drivers. We're about to go green for the final time this season. And we're underway from Atlanta. De Jong versus Trogan. The drag race for the lead into the final corner. De Jong maintains the advantage ahead of the Finn. Fox is in 4th as Matt Adams is up in a 3rd. Is brilliant. Just a brilliant start from Matt Adams for his best result so far if he can keep it.
That might be the cleanest feature race start we have all year. We have a Volkswagen in the background. I believe it's Matt Madigan. He found a tire ball, and he basically grip rolled. As we watch Josh Fox here on your screen, he's wrestling for position with the 17 of Matt Adams. They're going to go side by side. But in that final sequence of corners, 17 into the wall, but he's going to bounce off of it and immediately bounce back. But it's going to be Mitchell de Jong, cycles into the race lead. Sammy Matty Trogan, I believe, who did not take the shortcut. He was second at the start of it. He cycles down to your mid-pack.
Yep, exactly. So it's basically de Jong versus Trogan here, but Josh Fox needs to pass de Jong on track for victory. They both opted for the joker. Let's see if Trogan opts for it this time round. No, he's continued to the donk slide. That banked hairpin here at Atlanta, which is just ever so thrilling. There is the Finn on screen, and in 8 laps time, he could be champion.
And he's got a couple of Finns in front of him. I think those 2 cars, those 2 red and black positive sim racing cars, are going to be what dictates Sammy Matty Trogan taking to the joker up and over the jump. You can see he's starting to close in on that duo in front of him through the S's. He's going to work. First one's going to be Daniel Matrani, who he reels in. Then it's going to be Otto Taskinen. Does he go to the joker this time? I think he should. That's immediately the right call. Will it fight beyond for the lead?
He's awfully close. There is the Coanda SimSport driver up ahead of Mitchell de Jong. And the 2 head through the final corner in 1st and 2nd respectively. Now Josh Fox in 3rd has dropped off the pace a little bit, let me tell you that much. The Williams Esports driver on screen, but let's ride on board with Trogan. Let's see if he can reel in the gap.
Yeah, he's going to do everything he can to reel that gap down and in, but I think he's sort of just getting outpaced a little bit as Sammy Matty Trogan goes to work trying to reel that gap in. The gap at the end of the last lap was 0.6 of a second as they work through that left-handed sweeper. Our graphic updating showing that to be growing out maybe a little bit larger to about 0.7 of a second. We'll see what it maybe gets to a little bit closer to the end of the lap. A couple other drivers that were having a scrap were Bobby Zelensky, and actually take that back, Bobby just took to the joker, so that battle comes to a close, but Mitchell opens up a 10th that last trip around the racetrack, Johnny.
Josh Fox has had some impressive pace recently. He took his first pole of his career last round at Daytona, don't forget. Had the worst of races, though. Didn't even make the feature at the end of the day. Zelensky has been ever so consistent, and we watch the American right behind his American compatriot of Fox. Through the final corner they go. I'll tell you what, Randy, we've established something. There's at least a 4-horse race for the final win.
Yeah, this is one of the most tightly contested fights we've had at the head of the field all year. De Jong and Trogan still 0.7 of a second. They stayed about even that time, but P3, P4, 0.3 of a second. Right now, they're gearing up to have 2 Americans on the podium, but who's going to be the second one? Mitchell de Jong seems keen to at least be on the first step of the podium, but Josh Fox and Bobby Zelensky. Here comes Bobby up the inside. There's going to be an aggressive move. Yoinks the handbrake, able to get it wound up, and Josh Fox probably sweating bullets and probably feeling lucky to still be being out there. But Matt Adams, he's going to be the next driver to cycle in and maybe get into this fight. So this is quickly becoming a 3-car scrap for the 3rd position.
Yeah, Matt Adams, this is impressive pace from him. It'll be a career best result if he can make this stick into the top 5. We ride on board with the number 17 North Force Racing driver. And yet again, he's running the Subaru. 5, 6, I'm counting the Subarus here. 8 Subarus in your top 8 positions. Then the Fiesta of Lowe is down in 9th. And then the V-Dub of Madigan is 10th. That's ironic, Randy, considering the Subaru is the slowest car on a worn track.
Yeah, I think Lowe and Madigan, I don't think they had great starts. Lowe still owes us a shortcut, but it's only an 8-second delta, and he's 16 seconds off your leaders. He's not really in the window of anybody that's really had competitive speed at the moment. And talking about that, is any of our front runners still owe us jokers? I think just about everyone inside of the top 7, top 8, I think top 9 nearly is taken to the yeah, I think everyone besides Garrett Lowe and Matt Madigan have taken to the Joker lap, Johnny. So if anyone's going to make passes here in the closing couple laps of the season, they're going to have to find somehow, some way to do it on the racetrack.
It's not going to help Madigan. He's going to remain in last after that Joker because of the carnage that ensued at the beginning of this race. But only a couple laps to go in the season. Can't believe we're calling it an end already after 9 thrilling weeks of racing for Rallycross in 2019. Mitchell de Jong is our only multiple feature race winner, like we said, and he could do it again, Randy, as he begins the final lap.
Yeah, I mean, this has been we've had 8 races in this championship. This is the 9th one. Mitchell has already won 4 of the feature events. As he gets ready to take the white flag, he can make it 5 of 9 here as he works through this up towards the hairpin for the final time. Sammy's nowhere near close enough, and Mitchell about to get ready to put in another dominant performance in terms of wins, but Sammy Matty Trogan about to claim that championship in 2019.
Well, had Mitchell not missed 2 rounds of the campaign, we could be crowning him the champion. But he'll end the season on a high here for sure. The VRS Coanda SimSport driver takes his 5th win of the season, but he's not the champion. That's going to be Sammy Matty Trogan, the Finn, who becomes our 2019 Thrustmaster iRacing Rallycross World Champion. And what a thrilling campaign it was for the Finn, a rookie in the series for 2019. The surprise heading into round 1. He took that round 1 victory, don't forget, from this very circuit. And now finally, we crown him the champion of the world for Rallycross in the esports universe.
Yeah, what a season it was for Sammy. He's been just consistent all year. He has not missed out on a feature race, I don't think, all year long. Sammy has been absolutely picture perfect from the drop of the green flag at Atlanta season 1. So Sammy Matty Trogan, what a championship it's been for him. And I have a feeling he might be a slightly more vocal Finn, given he's won that championship.
Thrilling result for Sammy Matty Trogan. Let's have a look at the final race results for the final time in 2019. Mitchell de Jong, that's his 5th feature race victory, and with that, he claims a hat trick. That's his 5th of his career. A hat trick is when you take pole, a heat race victory, and the feature race victory. You clean sweep all your events. So brilliant for Mitchell de Jong to end the season on a high. What could have been had he not been absent for rounds 3 and rounds 4. Down the order, it's our champion of Sammy Matty Trogan. Congratulations to the young man. He wins. And a championship with only 1 win to his name. It reminds me of Keke Rosberg back in 1982 for sure, but also Keke Rosberg was a brilliant driver in himself. Josh Fox will round out the podium for the final time this season. And if I look down the order, Matt Adams with a career best result in 4th, but have I missed something with Bobby Zelensky there, Randy? Because I swear he was right behind Fox for the 3rd position.
He had a 46-second final lap, so yeah, something happened to Bobby. We were obviously focused on your top 2. Bobby he made his own mistake. He was fighting with Josh Fox. He was close with him. They weren't side by side, but coming through that left-hand sweeper on the gravel section, he just hooked the left rear of the car up against the tire wall, and he basically spun it all on his own, turned it around, and there was a little bit of contact as well with Matt Adams that promoted Matt Adams up into P4. But yeah, Bobby just essentially turned himself around.
Well, there you go. So we're calling obviously our winner and the champion, and we are going to speak to one of those winners right now, and that is Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell, a brilliant victory, your 5th of the season. Unfortunately, not champion. That goes to your title rival in Sami Trogan, but a great way to end the season with a hat trick too.
Yeah, I can't be too upset. I think we did everything we could today. Tried to get as many points as possible, but a lot of the other stuff, the championship was so far out of our hands. Just, had to focus on myself and do the best I could. And, that's the way it goes. It's a bit bittersweet to, have what felt like such an amazing season and then, still come up short for the missed rounds reasons. But honestly, I feel like this is a better season than last year, even with the championship. So, no complaints. Congratulations to Sami Mädi. Did awesome, super consistent, and he showed he put on a good form. So that's the way it goes.
And finally, we'll let you go, but who gets it done for you in that Coanda Sim Sport machine?
Shout out to all my teammates that helped me test. Big shout out to Sage Karam that spotted for both Bobby and I today, keeping us updated on the Joker situation. And yeah, everyone in Coanda, like I said, Virtual Racing School, Andorran Design, SimQuip, FeedTech, my personal sponsor Red Bull, and of course, you guys RaceSpot for the broadcast.
Most certainly. Mitchell will leave you to it, but it could have been a championship for you, we know, but at least you ended the season on the high. You had some good pace, and good luck for 2020 for sure in all the world championships you pursue.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Next will be... Here he is, our champion for 2019, and that is Sami Trogan, the Finn. Congratulations, Sami Mädi. It's confirmed. It was only a matter of time, mate, because all you needed to do was show up to this final round. But a brilliant way to end the season with a podium nevertheless. And finally, you are champion. How does it feel?
Yeah, of course it feels good. Yeah, I knew after qualifying I'm a champion, but yeah, wanted to win this race, but yeah, it's close. But yeah, it's okay.
And a championship for yourself as well. I think back to Keke Rosberg back in the 80s in Formula One, because you only managed to take one feature race victory this season, and that was at this racetrack in round one. I'm sure you probably wanted more to your name.
Yeah, I wanted really to win, but yeah, it was didn't get to pole in the qualifying. I was matching with the Mitchell space in the feeder, so yeah, I didn't have pole in the final, so maybe that was the key.
And for you now, being champion in the esports universe, how is this going to help support your real-life racing endeavors? Because we know esports is normally a good practice avenue for a lot of real-life drivers, but now it's growing quite well, and you never know. This could be this could set you apart from the other drivers in the real world, knowing that you have an esports world championship.
Yeah, of course it helps a lot. It's good to have this kind of racing for the off season, and yeah, it helps me mentally to prepare myself for the next season in the real life also. So yeah.
And by the way, final thing, I've never been champion in anything, unfortunately. I'm not that good. So can you give tips for anybody out there in the Rallycross universe how they can join you as a champion, or is it something that you're just born with?
I don't know really. I didn't expect to win this championship. I had a goal to be in top 5, but yeah, this was a bit unexpected. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just for the real world drivers. Yeah, this is really good, like a off-season activity for the drivers. So yeah.
Brilliant. And finally, who gets it done for you? A lot of people to thank, of course, the set promotion team. There's a lot of people that help get this done, and your teammates for sure too.
Yeah, thanks to my team. Of course, thanks to Jussi who got for myself a wild card for this championship, because I would have been here because I didn't have time to race the qualifying series. And thanks to my teammates, and thanks to my sponsors.
Most certainly. That is Sammy Matty Trogan for the final time in 2019. He is crowned your champion here today from Atlanta. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it, Randy, that he was crowned champion? But finally he gets it done, and you'll be stood alongside Josh Fox, the Williams Esports driver, who came home in third.
Yeah, rounding out our podium here, Josh, I mean, it's a good way for you to kind of end this season here for Williams Esports. Tell me a little bit about your day. You sort of started third and finished third, but I think you were up and down a couple of spots there fighting with the likes of Bobby, basically right up to the end of that until he turned himself.
Yeah, I feel like this was just what I needed after a really nightmare past 3 weeks before this. I don't think they could have gone any worse. So I was super glad to get a decent qualifying. Probably left a little bit on the table in qualifying, but lucky to win the third heat. And very lucky to stay clean on the start of the feature. That was really good. So felt good about that, and I knew once I was clear and I could see, the lead, that I could manage the race pretty well. And Bobby was really tough, so credit to him. It was a good race between us, and definitely a lot of fun, and for sure good to end the year on a proper run.
I want to ask something a little bit more technical on the driving side. This is the only track that we have that has a gravel starting grid, and it sort of has a weird rise to it as well. What was difficult about getting the cars off the starts here? We saw probably was the cleanest start we've had in the features all year. We saw a clean start in the heat as well, but what was sort of the difficulties of getting these cars rolling off the asphalt, which is definitely different from what we've seen at every other round this year?
It is different for sure, because you're pretty much spinning the tires the entire time, where on the asphalt you want not to spin them at all. So that's something I'm trying to manage. I'm trying to learn more about it. I don't have a ton of starts at this track with this grid, so I kind of play between short shifting and pedaling the throttle just to try to keep the traction going the right way. I think the guys got a much better start than me in the feature, but definitely, I think there's something to managing the throttle off the line, and that'll get you an advantage if you can do it the right way going into the first turn.
Well, Josh, thanks for joining us, and congrats to you for being able to end your championship on a high note here with a third place finish. Before we let you go, who gets it done for yourself and everyone involved at Williams Esports?
Yeah, thanks to you guys for putting on this great show all year long. Thanks for iRacing. It's been really an honor to compete with these guys, Mitchell and Sammy, both top of their game, and to be out here with them is a really cool opportunity. And of course, a huge thanks to Williams Esports. They really gave me the best opportunity to make the most of this season. Fortunately, we had some really tough luck there in the middle of the season, but I feel like we're really strong, and I know we're going to be back next year even stronger. So I'd like to give a huge thanks to them and all the great partners we have over there: Chill Blast PC, Team Razor, PlaySeat Global, BenQ Monitors, Fanatec, and One All Sports. And congrats as well to Sammy. He drove a really clean season, all season long, super consistent, so he really earned it.
There was. Josh Fox rounds out our final race of the year in the third position. Mr. Simone, back over to you.
Yeah, most certainly. And we head over to the eNASCAR series for our next World Championship in 2020. Can't believe I'm saying 2020. I feel like I'm getting older by the day, but there it is on screen. It returns in February. And Randy, that's a series that hopefully you'll be covering yourself, and it's a series that's going to ever evolve in the world of esports. Can't wait to get involved.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we all came into 2019, and the prize money that came in got bumped up to $100,000, and everyone was like, wow, things are getting bigger. And in 2020, it just continues to grow. $250,000 basically on the line going into 2020 in your eNASCAR series. That'll be kicking off in February at Daytona. We just saw Zach Novak, who this year, he basically, on the iRacing Esports Network, he basically dominated the state of Florida when it came to oval racing. He won the season opening Daytona race in the eNASCAR series. He won the championship as well as the finale race at Homestead, and last night we watched him win the iRacing Winter Derby at Pensacola at Five Flags. So it's going to be a fantastic kickoff to the season once we get there in February. Should be, I believe, the first World Championship if things go as they did this year, but that's going to be absolutely fantastic when we get the Cup cars taken to the virtual Daytona International Speedway come February.
Can't wait for it. And for Rallycross in 2020, I hope this series returns on a high for sure. How do we wrap up 2019 in a good way? We're going to have our own podcast of the Saban Racing Report later on for sure. But in brief words, a championship with carnage, entertainment, with a new winner. It pretty much had everything, I'd say, in 2019.
Yeah, I think it pretty much had everything on offer. It's going to be probably an interesting rundown you and I do a little bit later today. But it's it was a fantastic season, and I have to say, very well run by Sammy Matty Trogan. I'd say the top two in the championship, Johnny. Mitchell missing those couple of rounds. You could maybe argue if he missed one less, you crown him as champion just off of virtue of all the races he won. But Sammy was definitely the second cleanest driver, I think, all year, and it showed that in the points. He didn't win a lot of races, but he was consistently finishing on podiums, finishing top fours, top fives. I remember it was a talking point when he had one race where he made the feature and finished 10th. Not missing a feature all year. That was a huge advantage for Sammy, and he drove a great championship.
Believe it or not, now I haven't looked at the results after this race, but Mitchell de Jong didn't pick up an incident point on iRacing all season heading into this round. So it's up to you, iRacing members, to go and check the results and see whether or not he did later on. But what a fantastic season it's been. And there are an abundance of people to thank, including iRacing's Drew Adamson and, of course, Chris Leone for all their hard work behind the scenes. Don't forget RaceSpot TV's Hugo Luis and Will Vincent, Connery Maddock for filling in as commentator for Phoenix at round 5, our brilliant Randolph Cheneth, and our lovely, handsome, ever so elegant producer of Paul Smith, as well as the entire iRacing and RaceSpot TV crew for their support of this 2019 series. Visit racespot.tv and iRacing.com for more information on upcoming events. Let's not forget to thank series sponsor Thrustmaster 2, the drivers and the teams for the series, our pre-race interview guests. Those include Steve Arpin, Cabot Bigham, Patrick Sandell, UC Panamaki, Chris Leone. You get a double thank you yet again here for appearing in a pre-race interview. And today, Jim Beaver. It's always tough naming names, isn't it? So thanks to everybody else who we might have left out that contributed to what has been a fantastic season yet again for the 2019 Thrustmaster iRacing Rallycross World Championship. We thank all you viewers for joining us. You've made this series what it is in 2019. Hope you've enjoyed this RaceSpot TV presentation broadcasted on our associated platforms from myself, Jonathan Simon, for the final time in 2019. Our champion crowned in Sammy Matty Trogan. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2020.